Hey, before you watch the show and enjoy it, hopefully, but I have no control over how you feel, please do consider joining up at louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. You have 4 or 5 more shows every single week, as well as the entire Blaze TV catalog. You get this wonderful hand-etched mug, and more importantly, it's what allows us to continue this show and put any of this content on YouTube, because this isn't where everyone here makes their bones. So louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. And of course, if you're on YouTube, you're not there yet for Mug Club, hit the notification bell and hit all notifications. Enjoy the show. Good luck picking a VP! Experts are now saying that binge watching online content makes climate change worse. Hardest hit by the news, actually, is Greta Thunberg, who just signed a new $15 million Netflix deal for her stand-up debut, so she's not going to. Yeah. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? My sister-in-law somewhat frequently, probably every 10, 20 minutes or so, reaches down and scratches her lady business. Should she just like out-scratch her to make? That's what I would do. I would sit there and be like, I would be like a spider monkey picking ticks.
I think that they pile on this guy like he's done nothing right. He walked into politics and he slapped the entire system, and he spoke to politicians in a way they've never been spoken to. And all of these elitists that thought, if you voted for Trump, you're a racist. Well, dumbbells, that's why he won, because you misread my most.
Hold on a second. Dumbbells? That's right next to cornball.
Certainly, dumbbells is always good coming out.
Louder with Crowder Studios, protected exclusively by Walther.
And Betty.
Thousands of people demonstrated nationwide Saturday for the 4th annual Women's March.
Thousands of women and their allies have flooded the streets across the U.S.
Hundreds of people in downtown Dallas today for the 4th annual Women's March.
Going on now in our national government, we're going back to the 50s.
At the Dallas Women's March and marches all over the country, not about Trump.
Donald Trump has got to go!
4 years in, the Women's March target hasn't changed.
One, two, three.
Abortion! SOP!
Hello, ladies.
No, debate is a trap.
How does it feel to be a piece of shit?
Men need to respect women.
So you should respect women.
I am a woman, so fuck you. Fuck you.
I didn't say that.
I am a woman. I just became a woman.
No.
Excuse me, we're leaving the march. You need to get out of the way. You need to get out of the way.
That's the shoulder. This is called the only dance I can do because I've injured my lower back. So I
It's a
do
limited
this.
dance.
I wonder if that's who invented the dust your shoulders off. So it's just a lazy quadriplegic. Well, I guess it'd be paraplegic because he wouldn't.
injured.
Otherwise, it would just be.
Right. You can't be able to.
You can't even do that
Like,
part.
it's still there.
You can't do it.
It's still there.
Oh, the horror.
We have Jocko Willink on the show. I'm sure he'll be thrilled after that. Jocko Willink on the show. We'll be talking about AOC's recent, I guess we'd say, interview from MLK Day and everything you need to know about impeachment. I'm sorry, we do have to get to it. But first, question of the day. AOC, as we'll get to, she recently said that the Democratic Party is not left enough, that there is no actual left party, that they're merely centrists. Do you think that the DNC today is moderate? And specifically, the self-professed centrists out there, I want to hear from you. If you're a centrist or a moderate, where do you feel the most comfortable in today's political spectrum? Also, why are you such a fence-sitting pussy? That's what I would like to know. Other question of the day for a friend that I have. Do you believe that someone can truly be an Ozzy Osbourne fan and not at all familiar with Ronnie James Dio's catalog? I think he's a liar. Let me know.
Oh, wow.
My half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, is here. Thank you, sir, for being here. Thoroughly, and he's talking here like it's NPR.
I know, right?
Pick it up, Quarter Black Garrett. How are you?
What's up, dog?
I don't like that at all. Audio Wade, Too Cute Manny, G. Morgan Jr., Gerald A. What's the wine of the day?
Wine of the day is Red Schooner, Stephen. And actually, it's a wine of the world.
Red Schooner.
It comes from Argentina, but
Not
it's
to be
made in
confused with
California.
Red Spooner,
Yes.
your nickname at the local penitentiary.
There's 20 more minutes of story.
Just goes and does conjugal visits to put a smile on their faces. He does his part.
So generous.
Lot to get to, but first, this clip had to be first.
The patriarchy. Donald Trump. Mike Pence. White supremacy. Racism. Misogyny. Homophobia.
Fit on a poster.
Transphobia.
No.
Capitalism. Classism.
Yeah, it's a little too long for a picture.
She doesn't even look like she's passionate about it. She just looks like she's just rattling off a list. Like it's her grocery list of
Yes. Out there, I'm here in front of the White House. I am not here for polite protest because patriarchy is not polite. I am not here
Ronald
for quiet
McDonald?
protest because patriarchy is not quiet.
Why is she flipping her friend off, the cameraman?
Washington, D.C.
So rude.
The patriarchy in Cairo, Egypt, where I'm from. The patriarchy across the world. The patriarchy in every time zone. And the patriarchy in every universe.
people in Pacific got it 2 hours late.
Yes.
What?
Like,
what? Me?
She's the reason for the Arab Spring. So.
Did you catch? What was that last part?
The patriarchy across the world. The patriarchy in every time zone. And the patriarchy in every universe.
Shouldn't have gone with the Toll House.
Oh, man, you gotta go Spunkmeyer, man. It's just, there's no question.
So good.
Oh, right. I hate that this is my life. Kicking things off, by the way. The New York Times has endorsed both Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar. The Democratic primaries. This is a quote from them. The contest is between moderates and progressives, and the paper felt the two were the most effective advocates for each approach. And some, by the way, even feel that a joint ticket with the two women could bring sort of these two rivaling factions in the DNC together. And is that Quarter Black Garrett? I'm getting word that actually the two are holding a surprise joint press conference on just that now. Is it just me, or did she pop a titty? I think I saw. I thought titty go to Weta, could titty go pop.
Janet Jackson.
C-SPAN is good with the live censoring President Klobuchar, which, by the way, would explain the initially confusing recent endorsement from Julian Castro. He does Gusta.
Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Julian Castro, Gusta's what he Gustas.
Yeah,
makes sense now.
Man's gonna go.
Was that outside of a Walmart?
But they don't even taste like apples. What's the apple? We eat what we like. Was that only a Canadian commercial? Probably so.
I think
Probably
so.
Don't bring that Canadian noise. All right.
Well, you know what? It's good that he dropped out when he did, because he Gustas them titties too much to be trusted with a finger on the nuclear codes.
Too much.
I don't know. I feel like it's a positive for him.
I don't know. I feel like he'd be easily distracted. Be like, all right, Putin, is that them titties though?
Sir, we have to launch now.
Speaking of the 2020 race, of course, you out there most likely know this. If you don't, Tulsi Gabbard is now suing Hillary Clinton for defamation.
Good.
Yeah, as
Comes
she
from
should.
NBC News. The suit states that Clinton falsely stated Tulsi is a Russian asset in a deliberate attempt to derail her presidential campaign. And Hillary Clinton actually has responded more recently. I want to make sure I get this right because, lawsuits. She said, this is just another absurd attack in a long line of plip, plep, 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 burr, plep, plep, burr. And she had another seizure.
Yeah.
She had a seizure, which you would think she wouldn't write plep, plep, burr while seizing.
Yeah. But she's trying to get the message out.
You know what? Maybe she was more committed than I thought.
Maybe it was code. Throw
your hat in the ring for 2020, Hillary.
Please don't.
Hillary and Klobuchar.
Well, anyway, but now we have a transition from that to actually sad news. Sad news, Diego, a famous 100-year-old tortoise who was instrumental, by the way, in preserving species from extinction. He was father to over 800 tortoise babies.
Wow.
Has died, unfortunately. 800
so sad.
babies. Wow. He was a busy tortoise.
Yeah.
And in preparation for the public funeral, where people can pay their respects, the coroner has said that he's worked incredibly long hours, citing 10 hours to have Diego stuffed, 12 hours polishing his shell, and 20 hours required to wipe the smile off his face. So that's...
And there he is.
Wow. Look at him.
It's a tortoise.
National hero.
Actually, he didn't die. He's just retired.
Oh, he's just retired.
Yeah.
Oh.
But that didn't work for that Photoshop.
No.
So he lied.
Way to bring facts to the story.
I know a lot about tortoises, or tortai.
I don't know.
Not so much about porpoises. And I know they're entirely...
Porpoise.
Porpoises, it's basically a dolphin?
Yes.
It's a different type.
Is it a dolphin?
It's a mammal.
It's not a dolphin.
It's not a dolphin?
No.
So it's a sea mammal. Is it a whale? A
It's
porpoise?
more of a whale than a dolphin, yes.
Okay, all right.
The hell are we
You know
talking
what?
about?
This
Like, I
isn't
just
going to
made
work.
that up.
Dolphin
Someone in the
mammal.
comment section who undoubtedly exists and knows a lot about porpoises, please let me know.
It's already down there.
Science,
Don't worry
science,
about it.
already-
Yeah,
Outer
you didn't have to
comments.
ask for that one.
We'll
Let
send
us
you a
know.
free bag of Black Rifle coffee because we accidentally double ordered. We're going to have 30 pounds of coffee very soon.
They have porpoise
Do porpoises? They can't have coffee. It's probably like dogs. It's toxic.
It's clear.
right?
It's clear. None of us know
We
what
should put it in the
porpoises are.
ocean.
No,
so
okay,
let's
we've
just
made
move
it
on.
clear. We are porpoise ignorant. Jocko Willink coming up after this. A public relations executive with ties to Jeffrey Epstein has now claimed that the bad press she's gotten is just like the Holocaust.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, direct quote, lest you think I'm making this up, like we did, he retired, the tortoise didn't die. But this one's real.
This one's trust us on this one.
According to the PR powerhouse Peggy Siegel, I'm getting on that train and I'm going to the camps. If I had been in Nazi Germany, it could not have been worse.
Oh.
Of course, historians dispute her claims, pointing to the most obvious factual discrepancy in that Hitler actually killed himself. Could not have gone worse, except for all the murder, the genocide in German.
But by the way, can we be on the lookout for a follow-up story? I'm pretty sure after this gets out, it's going to be worse.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll probably
I think her
get
life
worse.
is going to get a little worse now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. She's probably just the kind of person who blissfully walks through life comparing things to the Holocaust.
It's true. My long
That's
line of
the Holocaust,
McDonald's.
and that's the Holocaust, and that's the Holocaust.
Jeez.
Well, I just asked you to pick some swatches. Not that one. I like the Holocaust one. Why is everything a reference?
Everything with you.
Is your scale the Holocaust?
That's it.
It doesn't apply in everyday life. I believe it does.
You should have levels. You should have
Broken
levels.
nail, Holocaust.
Hey, by the way, congratulations are in order for Tim Tebow. Who married former Miss Universe Demi-Leigh Nell Peters. Yeah, so good for him.
name.
By the way, you hear that, parents? Don't homeschool your kids, or they too might grow up, become a millionaire, and bang Miss Universe.
It's a cautionary tale.
Starts in the home.
You know?
Starts in the home.
Without the proper influence, your child.
Yeah, but he throws like this instead of like this. Okay, you sleep in a race car.
Exactly. He also played in the NFL and Major League Baseball. So
Look at Gerald taking it seriously.
Hey,
Damn you.
Mrs. Gerald Morgan Jr. was not the first choice.
No, it was Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Leave Tebow alone! Staying in, let's go to international, I guess. Hong Kong Express Airways recently had to apologize for forcing a passenger to take a pregnancy test before the flight. I know you think that probably doesn't make any sense. It probably won't, but I'll explain it anyway. This is from Sky News. Many Hong Kong mothers have actually been traveling to give birth where their babies can be eligible for the United States citizenship. And the woman in question wasn't actually pregnant.
Oh, no.
But when she told the airline, they didn't believe her. The good news is that she will still be featured on the cover of this month's Deceptively Fat Asians Monthly. So she is going...
Congratulations.
Going places, yeah, for sure.
Beautiful and brave.
Yeah.
I want to see even Brendan's search history for that one.
I was like 50% sure that was going to be me in the Photoshop, so I'm glad that it wasn't. Thank you.
With Asian lead, Asians very slender, typically speaking, but their leaders are all portly.
Yes.
They are.
The privileges of winning.
You get to eat.
That's what we
Is that
call
what it
it?
is?
Winning? You know what? Something, Charles? The rich are different.
They have food.
All right, so I guess you'd call this entertainment news, and we'll be talking more about AOC and impeachment, which I really don't want to do, but we always have to touch on impeachment because that's the only thing. The singer, I don't feel like I need to describe Madonna. Do I need to say singer Madonna?
Not really.
No.
The artist formerly known and currently known as Madonna. Madonna's canceled upcoming tour dates after announcing that, of course, she's fallen ill. To be clear, doctors say that it's nothing serious and that soon Madonna will again be to her old self, a wrinkly old whore.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the clinical outlook.
It's fairly descriptive. You're right. Yes.
Did we send her that cookie bouquet?
Is it? No, I think did we send her the Sherry's Berries? Oh. Is that what it was?
Sherry's Berries.
Sherry's Berries. We do not have them as a sponsor, and I doubt that we ever will.
No.
Wrinkly old whore. Sherry's Berries. He loves me. He loves me not.
It's an interesting flavor.
Lie a whore, and you know it. Name that movie line. All right, finally, KFC now is apologizing. Does anyone here know that? No?
No.
All right.
It's another Canadian commercial.
No, it's okay, I'll give you a hint. It's De Niro. Finally, KFC is apologizing for a recent advertisement that was accused of being sexist, and we'll give you that one.
Did someone say KFC? I don't care.
Man.
I get the complaints.
It's pretty blatant.
Wow, that one. I understand it.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to be a feminist to say, eh. By the way, big fan of this commercial, though, believe it or not. Julian Castro.
Did someone say KFC? I don't care. I love it.
He's just so on message. I really
He does what he does.
He's consistent. That's what I love about him.
Take him or leave him.
You know, you see politicians, they flip, they flop.
I know.
He doesn't.
I often feel like politicians are too often trying to hide the fact that they gusta them titties.
He stays right in the middle.
And we all gusta them titties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all do. Trivia winner, I think you have it there, Quarter Black Garrett, is Phil Bates on Twitter at LovelyLove, who correctly answered that I was psychoanalyzed by Jordan Peterson. So you will get something in the mail. I have no idea what it is. Okay. So first we have to hit on impeachment. I'll try and hit this really quickly because not a whole lot has changed, but there are some processes that you should probably know about it. So
just a lot of theater.
The impeachment proceedings, of course, they've been brought against President Donald Trump. They're continuing last week after delay from Pelosi. The House managers delivered the articles of impeachment to the Senate.
We see the impeachment managers now who are going to make that walk to the Senate side.
Do we need a play-by-play?
Deliver the articles of impeachment. It is a moment of solemnity.
Couldn't this have been B-roll?
A process that has been filled with rancor.
There's like 18 cameras.
Why is Trudeau in the Capitol building?
It was apparently directed by Michael Bay.
We need another angle.
I want to get this, and I want to have a
Yeah.
swooping shot that goes Nancy's pantsuit, and then I want it to come up, and then for some reason Ben Affleck's in it, but we don't.
No.
By the way, what is Lester Holt? Can we? No one's really. What is he biracial? He looks like a very stylish Muppet. That's always what I see. He just
very, very stylish.
He's dashing.
It's almost like we had that prepared.
Yeah.
It's like we.
Who knew?
I spent so much time combing over. Like if Dolce and Gabbana made a Muppet.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's
it would
exactly
be
it.
Lester Holt.
That's it.
I'm
Yes.
picturing it now.
That's
I actually don't dislike him. I think he's pretty good at his job, but stylish Muppet. So let me go through the timeline here, which McConnell, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, has released. Yeah, we have an overlay for impeachment. So 24 hours for opening arguments. Then there's going to be 16 to question legal teams, 4 hours of argument as to whether bringing in witnesses or not. Then there's the vote. 2/3 majority, of course, are needed. That means 20 Republicans will have to join 45 Democrats and 2 independents to convict. Now, remember, in the House, 3 Democrats voted against impeachment and 1 voted present, which means... Lester Holt, is he Ethiopian, do you think?
Maybe so.
I don't know.
He
Just
seems
a little,
to have that,
a little lighter.
Because they're surprisingly light.
They are.
They are.
Yeah.
A lot of Americans misconstrue Ethiopians with Kenyans.
Yeah.
Ethiopians lighter, Kenyans good at marathons.
Very good.
Helpful. That's
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've covered impeachment. I don't want to. You know what? I've realized this. I'm pretty much not happy at doing my work unless I'm either creating or learning.
Right.
And teaching, by the way, as well as learning. When I have to do research to go through some of these meat segments or deep dives, as people call them, for you guys, I learn as well. So it's exciting. Impeachment. Nobody's learning anything. It is political theater. And so if people say, "Well, why don't you talk about?" I just I don't care.
There's no news.
I'd rather talk about Gusta Ingdem titties.
This is what you've driven us to, media.
All right. So let's get to, actually, I think this is more important because kind of like with the 2016 campaign, everyone was focusing on Hillary Clinton. And we focused on Bernie. You can go back and watch those videos. Yeah. We have the most viewed videos on Bernie Sanders in that 2016 period. And we thought, okay, Hillary Clinton it's going to be effectively a coronation, right, with Hillary Clinton. But Bernie is the movement candidate. Right. That's the one that you have to dissect and ridicule so that people see the absurdity for what it is. Same thing here. If people are just focusing on Klobuchar or Warren, and I understand they're way further left, I think it's important to still recognize that Bernie and now AOC, these are the movement candidates that you need to be more concerned with. So that being said, at an event that was commemorating Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes.
One of them nailed a thing to the door of the church.
Different Martin
One of them,
Luther.
black guy.
Different one.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gave an interview with author Ta-Nehisi Coates. Well, here he is.
T-Coates.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've been really thinking and sitting with today is that there's this gun rights protest that's happening down in Richmond.
Right.
And
on MLK Day.
On MLK Day. But here's the image that has struck
MLK
with me the most about that. Is that when we go out and march for the dignity and the recognition of the lives of people like Freddie Gray and Eric Garner, the whole place
no mention of Brown. No, the one that started Black Lives Matter.
Or Trayvon. Riot gear, without a gun in sight. And here are all of these people flying Confederate flags with semi-automatic weapons. And there's almost no police officers at that protest.
Which, by the way, I know you're thinking, is this old from last year? No, it's the same MLK event. Same host. And she's like the Ricky Gervais of MLK Day events.
Over and over.
And I just this guy just, right. And by the way, okay, MLK Day, before we get into the facts, some of it is a scam. Do you realize that the trash didn't come? My trash comes on Wednesday. They have yet to come because of the holiday of MLK Day. Really? Hold on a second. Because of MLK Day, you can't do your job on Wednesday?
They pushed everybody back.
And so I understand everything MLK Jr. Stood for. But you know what? I'm going to throw the baby out with the bathwater because I have overflowing trash at this point. I don't even know what to do with recycling.
Getting stinky.
Hope you enjoy your voting rights.
Is it worse than the Holocaust? I'm just checking in.
Okay. By the way, she says a couple of things. We'll get to the facts here that actually, remember the guy says on MLK Day. Well, as though guns are... Martin Luther King Jr., by the way, applied for concealed carry permit to defend himself and was denied despite qualifying. Right. MLK was not anti-Second Amendment at all, and that should point us to the dangers of giving over that authority and autonomy to the government, because at that point, the government didn't provide equal rights to blacks, and they had their justifications. Well, guess what? That can change at any point if the government is in charge of granting and recognizing rights as opposed to it being granted by a creator, unalienable rights.
So you remember when we were down doing the Change My Mind, it's the exact same reason for people who are like, oh, Second Amendment doesn't apply to me, right? Oh, no big deal. I don't care about guns. The same argument was made with the First Amendment. We would hear from people who would say, well, I think the government should decide what's appropriate to be said or what's offensive. And I said, oh, okay, great. So you want Trump to decide? No, not that government, but that's exactly the point.
Pence.
Yeah. Okay, so you know, what came out, you're going to go to Pence,
Pence is just going to be dipping them back into shock therapy like Electro Island.
And that's when you come down, you look at the Second Amendment, you go, who do you want to decide? Do you want the government to decide who can defend themselves and who can't? At a certain level, we know that there are restrictions under the Second Amendment, but not the kind of restrictions that are being pushed by the left.
Yeah. And it's almost as if, she forgets, like, guys, every time you guys get together in March, a town usually gets lit on fire and looted. So maybe we need a few more people there.
And by the way, you guys does not, it means
people.
It means stupid people like AOC.
Has nothing to do with the race. It's all stupidity.
Yes, exactly. And by the way, something else, it's also based on a false premise. She said, and there are all these guns and not a police officer inside. There were 3 different police forces working overtime. And like Gerald said, the event was peaceful, unlike the Black Lives Matter protest, which, by the way, she didn't mention Ferguson. Hands up, don't shoot. Started with Mike Brown. Yeah. Little word of advice. Don't try to punch a cop or pistol whip him with his own gun, just for starters. Yeah. So in Ferguson, you had rioters, cost the city millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Dallas, 12 officers were shot, 5 were killed. So, again, which side would really need more police at their events? Not to mention the little fact that an Antifa member tried to firebomb an ICE facility after being inspired by AOC's concentration camp rhetoric. And I want to be really clear here. It wasn't like some guy in Christchurch then mentioning, Candace Owens as a troll job. This person believed that there were concentration camps going on at it's really more like a Pizzagate comparison.
Oh my gosh. Well, look, and this is the same event that right before we played that clip, they were praising the work that was done in Ferguson and also by Antifa.
Yeah.
These two groups, I'm like, are you serious? Of course we're going to have protection from these people. These people, again, I use stupid people.
I lit a Duraflame under a Walgreens.
Who would have known?
It's like what's it? Well, what do you mean? No, it's like a fire starter, like a log wrapped. I know what Duraflame is. Why would you put it under a Walgreens?
Well, and then the gasoline.
The big
then I'll steal your cars. And that, by the way, could be a Puerto Rican gentleman. No idea. Next clip.
It was also stupid.
We don't have a left party in the United States. The Democratic Party is not a left party.
Did you add the
I did not.
He's just doing that?
That's all him.
Which is remarkable because he's
The Democratic
slack-jawed.
Party is a center
Ventriloquist.
or center conservative party.
Seriously, every time they go to that guy, his mouth is open like this. Like, like Sonny Liston after, and then how do you go?
Somehow he gets the
I can't go,
out.
It's just,
He's got his own soundboard. He just hits it.
Oh, yeah.
That's my whiteness.
He's probably a
coming
DJ.
So hold on a second. There is no left party. The Democrat establishment, they're moderate. Do you mean do you mean on immigration, where you guys are for reasonable immigration reform, border security? Oh no, wait, hold on a second. You are for not only completely open borders and no wall, but against not deporting. We're not talking about dreamers or children. You are against deporting serial violent felons, provided that they currently live in sanctuary cities, and you're against sending back criminals who are in our prisons illegally. Oh, okay. Oh, well, you must mean the Democrats are they're more moderate on abortion, for things like limitations that most Americans, even who identify as pro-choice, like 20-week limits, I don't know, maybe the first try. Oh, wait, no. Oh, you mean the entire Democratic Party, with the exception of Tulsi Gabbard, support abortion up until the baby crowns?
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know, maybe the Democrat, let me think. They're centrist on firearms, right? Where maybe they're just talking about making sure that violent felons don't get firearms. And wait, no, hold on, that's already the case. Oh, no. You're talking about the dissenting opinions in Heller versus DC and the entire Democratic Party who want to make all semi-automatic firearms illegal? Hold on a second. Maybe, do you mean Democrats are moderate on taxes and they believe in a progressive tax code where, I don't know, maybe like 37% in the top bracket, or maybe our corporate tax should be comparable to other nations like Sweden? Oh, no, wait, you're okay with a 90% tax and you want us to have the highest corporate tax in the industrialized world? I think there's a disconnect, you crazy, horrible human being.
Very stupid.
Sounds center conservative.
Yes.
Very conservative.
Very,
and they were just talking about there in that clip right before it too, that you can't, she's like, I don't believe that you can capitalism your way out of these problems. We have to get Medicare for all onto the floor for at least a vote. We need to be able to do that. I'm like, that's not a centrist policy. To give everybody money. It'd be fantastic. Give every American $1 million right now. They would probably be better off, but we would also be broke.
I don't know.
So
have you run the numbers?
Do stuff.
Don't you bring your info on my show without a reference.
That's true.
Well, I do like the fact, you remember she was kind of lambasted for the amount she spent on Uber black SUVs driving her around for the campaign. Yeah, it sounds like capitalism did her bad. Right? Yeah, it sounds horrible.
Well, we go there through abortion, guns, taxes, immigration. Mao say what? Okay, next clip.
The story that's not told is the impact on our collective psyche on the island.
What is this?
No one believes.
Sounds like the turtle humping a work
that
boot.
The United States treats us as full citizens, because the United States doesn't. My own family, it's like they had all of these emergency backpacks ready to go with torches and MREs and rations, because they knew that no one was going to come. And that's the psyche. And to know that a society does not care for you has a profound impact on one's psyche.
Remember how we talked about ascribing intent?
Yeah.
So not only did she just ascribe motive and intent, knowing they don't care about you, but then also attributed non-existent policy to it, or actions. Yes. This goes back, lest you have forgotten, all the way back to 2017 with San Juan Mayor. He was claiming that Trump was withholding relief aid. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah,
But if you recall, actually it was the mayor who hadn't attended any meetings, and Puerto Rican officials they completely failed to coordinate delivery of the supplies. So even those that they had received remained completely unopened. Look, in that picture right there, that's a press conference in front of unopened supply boxes. That's like Donkey Kong Country's banana hoard.
Oh my gosh.
Where, whatever could these supplies be?
Right.
It must be because Americans hate Puerto Ricans.
Of course. And the supplies actually sat so long that some of them you couldn't be used anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Because they didn't distribute them.
Right. Well, now, so with the recent earthquakes, this is obviously what we're talking about, thoughts and prayers with the people of Puerto Rico.
Of course.
Puerto Rican government has repeated the same cycle with loads of supplies remaining in warehouses, not being distributed to those in need. I guess time to blame America. It's America's fault. 51st state, fingers crossed.
Right. Because AOC was down there, right? She was the one finding the warehouse that had the supplies.
Well, she said us.
We.
Yeah. She said we.
She said we, and then corrected.
You bartended in Brooklyn for like 3 decades.
Since she was one.
Early start. Very early start to the
But
career. Oh my gosh.
She just came out suckling on a bottle of Jack.
I think one of the problems that we see in cases like this, it's much more fashionable and politically expedient to bash Trump and say that this people group is against you than it is to actually go out and do the work of distributing supplies.
Well, no, I think what's really important here, and yes, you're right, but the problem with Puerto Rico is not the United States. It's not our conservatism. It's not free enterprise. It is the bloated, bureaucratic government that you, AOC, view as the solution to all problems. When you talk about taking out big businesses, when you talk about fair distribution, when you talk about more centralized regulation, who are you talking about? The exact kind of people, government officials, mayors, governors. So I don't know the entire, maybe it's a Puerto Rico, I don't know exactly who it is. I know important people. The point is, you want them to be in charge of these disasters exclusively. You want them to be in charge of medical aid. That's also why you want to take away tax-exempt status from churches, who, by the way, provide an overwhelming amount of relief to a lot of these foreign countries. We did it here with Hurricane Harvey at one point, and they don't want to say, because, by the way, unless you forget, the argument is, well, you just did that so it's a tax deduction. Right. Yeah, we raised several $100,000 for Hurricane Harvey because we would pay a few $1,000s left in taxes. You moron. You googly-eyed demon.
That's a new one.
I always wonder about those arguments, because then it's the argument that we should discourage charitable donations by taking away that small, tiny, de minimis incentive.
Yes.
Because that's going to encourage more.
Yes.
Oh,
the whole idea is take it away, tax more, put in the hands of the government so that they can sit on the supplies.
But I thought the government was the one that wasn't sending the aid correctly.
That's just because you were raised in the era of Mao.
It's
confusing for you.
It is.
It's confusing. Yeah, I know. He's coming, in his mind, it's still always Tiananmen Square.
He diverts back always.
It is.
But he's rooting for the bad guy.
Yeah, who's driving the tank.
Unfortunately. It's like,
he's saying full speed ahead in the tank.
It's like Payback with Mel Gibson.
Right. Yeah.
He wants the bad guy to win. All right, by the way, hit the notification bell and hit all notifications on the bell if you've hit the notification bell before and you're subscribed, because now apparently the notification bell does not alert you of all uploads or the live streams. New video goes up every single night, with the exception of Sunday. And of course, join Mug Club, louderwithcreditor.com/Mug Club, because that is what allows us to continue to produce this content for you, and like 80% more content there in the entire Blaze TV catalog. All right, I think we have more of this broad. Next clip.
You didn't make those widgets. You sat on a couch.
Maybe a love
while thousands
Maybe
of
a nice
people
sectional.
were paid
a fainting couch.
modern day slave wages, and in some cases real modern day slavery, depending on where you are in terms of food production.
Not in this country.
You made that money off the backs of undocumented people. You made that money off of the backs of black and brown people being paid off a living wage, under a living wage. You made that money off of the backs of single mothers.
Single mothers.
And all of these people who are literally dying because they can't afford to live. And so no one ever makes $1 billion.
I like her hype man. He's so low-key.
You take $1 billion.
Laying on your couches with the joke's on you. I was on a daybed.
It's a convertible.
By the way, do you notice how right away she feels? Oh, it's Americans exploiting black and brown people, paying them slave wages. Let me ask, how about the brown people paying brown people? What's their going rate, sweetheart? Let's get into the fair trade bullshit. I'm sorry, this thing bothers me so much. You see this all the time. People talk about like coffee or whatever it is that they're buying at the store. Cacao, which is a stupid term. It's cocoa. It's cocoa. It's cocoa. You just haven't roasted it. Stop saying cacao. It doesn't change what it is. You did. So you see this fair trade label on there, and what happens? They tell you the story, right? They go, well, it's fair trade because if you don't pay fair trade, these people in these countries, we don't realize they're being exploited, and they're only making $1 a day. And you don't ask them, well, what are they making with your fair trade cocoa? About $1.50. It goes further there. They don't provide the context. For example, I think we have a source here. Ivory Coast agricultural workers make on average $4 a day. Those who work for fair trade certified companies see it boosted to a whopping $6.
Ooh.
So they're not being paid an American minimum wage. You need to provide the scale and the context. And on top of that, this goes back to AOC's false claim, the living wage claims, which doesn't really mean anything because it changes every single year. They were debunked by Washington Post last year, lest you think that it's fake news. The company, of course, that Alexandria Ocasio Pinto Santa Maria Cortez, the one that she always takes aim at, is Amazon. For not paying its employees a living wage. These evil billionaires, right? They didn't make these companies. They just sat on their, love seat? They just sat on their love seat.
Yes.
They just really pretty much, they sat on their bean bag. Didn't make these companies where there are now hundreds of thousands of people who have jobs.
Right.
Amazon alone employed 750,000 people in 2019.
That sounds like a lot.
And by the way, you want to know what AOC would do where she's talking about this if someone like her, so it's not necessarily about AOC because she probably won't make it to some kind of serious national platform as far as president or something like that because she's crazy. You can see to the eyes.
Please, no.
Please no.
What are you, calling a squirrel? It's my eye. It's the way my eye is. That's the way. Oh, well, okay.
Trying to get the horse to go.
Were you dropped? Yeah. Do you want to know what someone like AOC would do if they were in power nationally as they bitch about Donald Trump and one of the most burgeoning economies that we've ever seen? Look at her district in New York, where she gave Amazon the boot despite the overwhelming support of her constituents wanting to bring Amazon in along with its 25,000 jobs at below a living wage, mind you. $150,000 average annual salary.
Yeah.
That's more than 6,
But she's
right?
for the workers.
Yeah, we should just toss that to AOC.
Nice.
Think about that for a second. 25,000 jobs.
Yeah.
In Queens, gone. $150,000 a year.
Right.
The point is, if you think that that's exploitation, you just hate companies that aren't government owned. You want to nationalize everything. Don't tell me that it's about $16 an hour. Don't even tell me it's about $25 an hour.
Right.
You kicked out 25,000 jobs, averaging $150,000 a year. It's it. That's over. You're done. Nobody likes lying losers with crazy eyes. Next clip.
I think it's totally fine and human and natural to feel that way.
So my Jordans are okay.
I think your Jordans are okay. You know, it's like
Good to see your priorities are straight.
Then live in it while fighting for a better world.
Right.
It's too easy.
Wow.
Of all the companies, she uses Nike as an example. Is it me?
Man.
Is it me?
It's a little crazy.
The same Nike famous for exploiting sweatshop labor conditions in other countries that we don't allow in our capitalist system, by the way, here in the United States. But it's okay when it's Nike because they support sodomy and this ass. So that's fine.
What is it with the eyes in these people?
I don't know.
Not these people like the color. Again,
Can I get
we defined that in the beginning.
Can I get sponsored?
Sure, what are you looking for there, Kaepernick?
Free Jordans like once a quarter.
Good. We'll put you on a poster at Dick's Sporting Goods.
I do think, you know what I do find interesting is remember when she talks about, on the backs of black and brown workers who are not paid a living wage.
Single mothers.
You notice she's not concerned about anyone besides a minority, right? There's no worry about white workers who may also be exploited. But here's the other part. Is the message here, don't hire single moms? Is the message here, don't hire minorities? No, of course not. The idea that these companies aren't also contributing, so is she saying that all the social media companies that are making billions of dollars, they're the ones that are the problem, we should break them up and not allow them to have the control they have? I don't know, maybe I agree.
Truth.
I'm a little confused. Honestly, the Nike thing threw me for a loop.
It really is. It's nuts.
It seemed like quite the contradiction.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. It seems as though it's nonsensical. I think we have. Is this the last clip of AOC?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank
goodness.
you. Thank you.
Yes,
okay, let's roll it.
To be ethical, if you're a billionaire today, the thing that you need to do is give up control and power.
And your sectional.
So I don't want your money as much as we want your power.
Oh boy.
We don't want to demand
you earned it, right, AOC?
for a billionaire to fund this or that. What we want to demand is to change these systems, change the business model that has exploited so many people.
Huh.
I wasn't looking at my iPad. I was just looking down because I'm very sad.
It's embarrassing for her.
We want your power. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, well, okay.
Come and take it.
Wait, hold on. Okay, so someone should make a company, produce something, employ people, add value, and then you... Oh, so you'll steal it.
Right. No, Stephen, you're misunderstanding. Billionaires, as she stated before, never make $1 billion. They take it.
They take it,
Right.
as opposed to what AOC does.
That's not taking it.
No, it's not taking it.
Not taking it. It's
Doesn't
repurposing.
Okay, all right. Toss a
She's
couple
on a
of googlies
chair.
into the mix. We're murky on the rule book.
Yeah.
By the way, before we get into the whole idea of why that is horrible, Jeff Bezos, I don't agree with his politics. We've talked about that quite a bit. But he's not some guy who was raised wealthy with a silver spoon in his mouth. This is a guy, this is the American dream. Created, I keep saying less. I should stop. It's because Lester Holt is in my mind.
Yeah, it's on your mind. Yes.
We have to bring that back up. He does. He looks like a stylish Muppet.
He does.
In case you've forgotten, Amazon was a bookseller for a long time. It didn't become what it is today accidentally. I don't agree with his politics, but what gives me the right to take anything from Jeff Bezos? This is the concept, right? They want to take from people, AOC, who've actually worked to create something. It would be, to give you a more kind of direct comparison, I think I was talking with a researcher, Reg, who's brilliant, and he's so strong. He squats like 630 pounds.
Oh, wow.
He's like a competitive powerlifter at 180-pound body weight.
Jeez.
I said, imagine this, if we could put on just sort of these helmets, like I think you've seen them in Star Trek, where you switch bodies, and you've done all of this work, and for 8 years you worked to create this total so you can compete on a national level in powerlifting, and all of a sudden I just go, and I suck up your power. Because here's the thing, she's talking about giving us your power. Well, we see with Puerto Rico or the government, even the United States, they don't give up the power once they've taken it. The power is going somewhere. You are talking, AOC, about displacing power from people who are beholden to adding value, lest they lose power, I said it again, versus you, who will have the power subsequently, regardless of having earned it. And we should know this. Anyone who has a serious firearm, a high-caliber firearm, and has never used it, never trained with it, that's a bad idea. Put someone under a 500-pound barbell who's never worked their way up to create that strength. It doesn't end well. These people who want all of the power, as she just said, haven't earned it. It will collapse, and they will fold under the weight, and subsequently, the American people. And I don't understand why, if someone had to work to create this, let's even go back to Jeff Bezos. I don't agree with his politics. Why is it immoral for Mr. Bezos to want to keep what he's created, but it's not immoral for you or me to want to take it? Again, displacing this power from billionaires, you're going to displace it to people who made Puerto Rico happen. And you know, to people, let's go through this personally here. I guess this is what you want to say. Give up the power. And I'm not a billionaire, but this company would be in the same tax bracket. That's something that people don't tell you. So no matter what I did, by the way, not taking a paycheck, not taking a salary, not being paid a dime for this show for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, building it up, sleepless nights, running it out of my den, then an old massage parlor, in case you haven't watched behind the scenes is what it was. We found out afterwards, we're like, why are there no outlets in here?
Awesome.
Jobs? That's disgusting. I have no idea why we rented this office. Now I get why the rent was low to move to a new office. We went from 1 employee to 3 employees to 5 employees, now to 15 employees who all make, by the way, significantly above a living wage. But because this was successful, because I built something that actually adds value, it's inherently immoral. Okay, I understand, AOC. You know what? I get it. I am going to give up the power. And you know what, Quarter Black Garrett? I'm gonna give the power to you. To you, the Quarter Black. Yep. All you have to do is touch that button, and that power is no longer mine.
Really?
Yeah, it's yours.
Oh,
idiot! All right, Jocko Willink coming up after this. Jocko Willink coming up. Wait.
Our world is increasingly ruled by technology. Information moves faster than the speed of light. But how do you know that you and your personal information are safe? That's why you should protect yourself with the latest in cybersecurity technology, a sticky note. Are you worried that it might leave you open to hackers, spies, geo-blocks, IP detection, ad targeting, NSA habit tracking, traffic logs, third-party microphone access, and theft of your personal data? We've got you covered with a sticky note. And if you're concerned about all that other stuff, there's always ExpressVPN.
Obviously, if you're a fan of this show, you spend a lot of time online. But every time you open a browser, you may not know this. I didn't because I was a technology idiot. I was like my grandmother with a giant VCR with a giant blue buttons. It was me, and even it was a VCR with a giant blue buttons. I still don't know how to work it. Is TiVo still a thing? The point is, online, you're leaving yourself open to hackers, IP detection, targeting, could be the NSA, Russians, we have no idea. But what you do online should be your business and your business only. That's why everyone here uses ExpressVPN. We actually used it when we've done some searches, I believe, with Tulsi Gabbard to look at algorithms and test it with different locations. It encrypts everything. 100% of your data is safe. The software takes about a minute to set up on your computer, your phone. Really easy to use. If you go to expressvpn.com/scrowder right now, sign up. You get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN service for free. And also, really important, they didn't have any kind of a data breach as some competing VPNs did and didn't tell you about. So good track record, the balls to sponsor the show, and you should be using a VPN. Please consider using ExpressVPN, expressvpn.com/crowder.
And now, a reading from the Democratic Socialist Manifesto with Comrade Cortez.
It's become evident that the bourgeoisie is unfit any longer to be the ruling class. The squad is the ruling class now. We run this Me, my girl Ilhan, Rashida, and I never learned the other girl's name. It doesn't matter. We're coming for you, Israel. Yeah!
Join Mug Club, because soon, videos like this will be all that's left on YouTube.
Oh, hi. Hey. Seen on the board, do you guys have Black Rifle coffee here?
No, I'm sorry. We only carry good small batch coffee here.
Well, it is great small batch coffee.
Well, that really can't be unless it's fresh roasted, so,
Well, it is fresh roasted.
I don't think you know what that means. You know what this is? This is Masa Lequa Pique, which of course in the Indonesian language, let me finish. In the Indonesian language, it's weasel coffee.
You just made that up.
No, it's been passed through their digestive tract.
That's disgusting.
And then it's nature's wet processing.
Yeah, but is it good?
I mean, it's all right. Are they investor philanthropists? Do they support good causes?
Yeah, tons of causes. Veterans causes and first responder causes, but it doesn't matter because they make good coffee. So that's what I'm wondering.
Do you have any?
You know what? Actually, I'm just gonna order it. They make it freshly roasted.
Right.
Black Rifle Coffee.
It's good.
Black Rifle Coffee. By the way, if you go to blackriflecoffee.com/Crowder, you enter in the promo code Crowder, you'll get 20% off your first order. And we over-ordered, by the way. It's like the kids' book, Who Put the Pepper in the Pot, where everyone thinks the other person put the pepper in the pot, and so they all put pepper in the pot, and then the pot is just too hot because there's so much pepper. The point is, we're going to have like 30 pounds of coffee because everyone here double-ordered. We'll be giving some away. Comment below why you love coffee, how you like your coffee. And listen, Black Rifle Coffee, they are veteran-owned. A portion of their profits go to veteran organizations, and that's all great. But here's the thing: they make better coffee than the competition. So just give it a try. And they fresh roast it. That's really important, by the way. A lot of people don't know coffee is a bean. It's perishable. After about a month, it goes bad. So Black Rifle roasts to order as soon as you order the coffee. I love the vintage roast, the green bag, the coffee saves. Go to blackrifle.com/Crowder. Enter in the promo code. And if you drink coffee, might as well drink better coffee that supports good causes. You feeling good there, Quarterback here?
No, man.
Okay, well, chipper up, because I will tell you this. Our next guest is usually very serious, very stoic. Very stone-faced.
Right.
Stoic, I guess it would go back to Marcus Aurelius. Was he the creator of Stoicism? I have absolutely no idea. The point is, he was very chipper before we came on air, which
that's true.
Makes me think he's used some illicit substances.
Recently?
But you know him and you love him. You can follow him, of course, Jocko Willink on the Twitter, JockoPodcast.com. Yeah. I do not have his newest book yet, but it is Leadership Strategy and Tactics, a Field Manual. And Origin USA, he has a supplement company. They do all kinds of American clothing now. I I hope I've gotten all those incorrectly. Mr. Willink, how are you, sir?
I am doing outstanding. Thank you for having me back on your program.
Thank you very much. Why so formal? What does that mean? First off, you say, here's the thing. You're such a studly guy, but that sounded so bitchy on your program. What is this, Mean Girls?
Well, it's just that your whole intro thing kind of made me say to myself, all right, he's taking himself way too seriously. Let's just attack him out of the gate. Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
That's absolutely fine. It'd be like when you're rolling and right away you just snatch a Kimura and crank it for dear life. I didn't know. All right, we'll talk about that during the break a little bit, some stories on that, because, of course, people who don't know, Jocko Willink, not only highly decorated military background, but an accomplished jiu-jitsu fighter as well. All right, so, Jocko, first off, tell us about your new book, which you did not send to me, and how it differs from these. You know what? Let's just...
yeah, there you go.
We'll put in digitally the new book. Yeah. How does it differ from the previous books? Because I've read them, and I will have one of my producers here who's a huge fan. He's read everything, but obviously, you read one leadership book, you think, like, I got it figured out.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's what people think all too often. And so here's the deal. I have the leadership consulting company, Echelon Front. I go around all the time talking about leadership, talking to companies, talking to business leaders. I have a podcast where I talk about leadership all the time. And I take questions. In both those situations, I take questions from people. And I would get asked the same questions over and over and over again. And what I realized is that people might understand the principles, but they're not quite sure of how to actually apply them. And so I would get asked the questions. Well, I took all those questions down over the years, and I eventually wrote down all the leadership strategy and tactics that I used, wrote them down in a book so people can open up the book, see the problem that they have, and then find a solution to that problem. So it's very granular. It's called a field manual. The reason it's called a field manual is in the military, there's field manuals for just about everything that you do, for how you shoot a gun, for how you clean a gun, for how you use a compass. There's a field manual for everything. They're very simple, very straightforward, step by step. That's what this is. It's for leadership, and it's simple, straightforward, step by step, how to improve your leadership capabilities.
Well, let me ask you this, because you say that you've gotten a lot of questions. And I ask this because your books are pretty clear. I mean, they're pretty in-depth, the ones that I've read before. So do you find, especially being seen as someone who's relatively intense, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, are people afraid to ask you questions in real life? Are they worried that it might be a stupid question? And how do you usually react? Someone like you who's been specific in your instruction, what kind of questions come back to you?
Get questions all the time. Okay, so the first book called Extreme Ownership. Someone might say, and the premise is if you make a mistake, or if a mission fails or a project fails, then you actually take ownership of it. So I'd get this question all the time. They'd say, hey, Jocko, what if I take ownership of the problem and I say it's my fault, and then the team looks at me and they say, yeah, you're right, it is your fault. What do I do then?
You shoot them.
And so, no, actually.
Okay, it's multiple choice.
What you say to the team is, yes, I just said it was my fault, and now you're saying it's my fault. That's what I said. It actually is my fault. I'm taking ownership of the problem, and these are the things I'm going to do to make sure that we get this problem solved and it doesn't happen again. Because what happens is when people say, you know what, this was my fault, I take ownership of it, they think now, oh, okay, cool, now I get a free pass because I said it's my fault.
Right.
Well, that's not the reality. You still have to take ownership of the problem. You have to figure out what the solution is, and you have to implement that solution. So those are the kind of things that I answer these questions all the time, and I put them all in this book. How do you deal with someone that has a negative attitude on your team? What do you do with them? How do you deal with rumors running rampant? Just all those problems that people experience in leadership positions, I tackle them.
Yeah, well, what happens if everyone says it's their fault? If it's like, I'm Spartacus, but everyone's just like, I'm an idiot, I'm a moron, I screwed up. I mean, whose fault is it?
Yeah, what happens is what you end up with is interlocking fields of fire. So what that means is on the battlefield, yeah, you and I are supposed to cover an area. Well, we don't take one little section and say, okay, everything to the right of that, I'll cover. Everything to the left of that, you cover. No, we actually say, we open it up so we have a little bit of overlap. Yeah. So when on a team, when multiple people are saying, well, okay, the supplies didn't get here on time. And the supply person says, yeah, you know what? I didn't set up the logistics right. And then I say, you know what? You didn't set up the logistics right, but it's actually my fault because I didn't order the materials early enough.
Yeah.
Well, now what we both do is now I start ordering them earlier, and the supply person starts cleaning out the logistics train, and now that problem is solved from two different directions. So it's never going to happen again. So yes, when you're on a team and people start taking ownership, everyone will take ownership. It's awesome. They'll all get the problem solved.
But sometimes it's awkward if you say, I didn't get the logistics right. And the other guys just say, yeah, should have done that. Then it's even less comfortable.
Well, that's the thing is, and what kicks in is people's ego when they go, I didn't get the logistics right, and they want people to go, no, you did great. No. People are like, oh, yeah, you actually didn't get them right because that's why it took so long. Right. And then their ego goes, wait a second, it wasn't my fault. I should have. Well, actually, it was your fault. That's the thing about extreme ownership. Extreme ownership isn't just lip service like, well, if I say it's my fault, everyone will ignore me and give me a pass. That's not what happens, and it shouldn't happen that way.
So it sounds like this book could, part of it could be substituted with just being married. You just say, it's my fault, and your wife says, absolutely. And then you go on your merry way and avoid making her cross.
So people align these things. And I know you said it joking around because you're the comedian and all this stuff. You're supposed to be funny.
Well, I don't have the cleft.
Okay, yeah. So people bring it up all the time, though. How does this stuff apply to marriage? And yeah, it absolutely applies to marriage. So when your wife says, oh, no one took out the garbage. You didn't take out the garbage this morning on Monday. So now it's going to be sitting in the alley for another week. Instead of being like, well, you should have told me, you should have reminded me it was Monday. No, you say, you know what? It's my fault. I'll actually, from now on, I'm going to put a reminder on my calendar so I remember.
Yeah.
And your wife goes, good.
Yeah.
And you say, and now you don't let your ego get involved. You actually take ownership of the problem. And now from now on, you get the garbage out on time and you don't have a stinky alleyway. So it actually works. And your relationship will be better with your wife.
Except for when it's near a holiday and they switch the trash day and then you have to kill the trash man. That's what happened New Year's. That's why I've still been laying low.
Never let you know.
But let me ask you this, and I want to get to
don't you have neighbors?
Well, actually, my neighbor went through my mail, which is a federal crime, so we don't talk much anymore.
You could always impose your garbage on your neighbor's trash can if it's really stinky.
This is true.
Right?
No, I have a very old neighbor who lives in the house with the lights off, and all he does is come out to trim his bushes and sort through my mail. And I said, hey, I love you. It wasn't malicious. I said, great, I appreciate it, but just because if we're gone for a long weekend, you don't go through my mail. That's not how this works. That's a true story. Yeah, Johnny always bring it in. He's like, hey, your mail was in so-and-so's mailbox again. I want to get to sort of Iran and Soleimani a little bit because you have some insight there that I'd like to kind of sort of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I had a stroke. But before that, right now we have an incredible economy that's been really doing well the last few years, but we also have 1,300 CEOs who've stepped down in the past year. And as someone who works with a lot of CEOs and people in positions of power, executive power, particularly with businesses, why do you think that is? It's something that I haven't necessarily been able to figure out.
Well, when a company's doing bad, then that blame is going to shift to the CEO, which is where it should shift. When a team is not doing well, it's the leader's fault. And if the leader doesn't do things to reverse that course and get things on track, they're going to feel a lot of pressure to step down. That's what's going to happen. And I've seen it over and over again. When you have a bad team, a bad group, a bad company, you can change out that leader and absolutely turn things around almost immediately. I used to see that with SEAL platoons. Occasionally, we would fire a SEAL platoon leader. And we're firing the SEAL platoon leader because the SEAL platoon is performing badly.
Right.
We would fire that guy, bring in a new leader. We'd usually find a leader that had some experience, that was a good leader, put him in there. I'm not kidding. The next mission they would go on, next training mission, everything would be smooth. And that's the impact of leadership, of good leadership. So when you see a company that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're not performing well, eventually the board or the chairman of the board or the investors are going to turn to that guy and say, we don't want you anymore. Yeah. And they can call it stepping down, but they're getting fired.
Oh, is that what? Because I was going to say that would apply if the economy were doing poorly or these companies are doing poorly. But if you look into it, some of these companies are doing pretty well, like most companies are right now, and CEOs are stepping down. But you think that a lot of that is maybe stepping down?
Well, I mean, you might also have people that have done enough and they've grinded it out for 18 years and they're going to take some time. I mean, I don't know what particular cases that you're talking about. Maybe it is people that are just ready to step down and enjoy some other part of their life. That's a possibility too. I'm talking broadly when I deal with companies and the CEO leaves. Generally it's because the CEO and the company is doing poorly, and the company is doing poorly because the CEO is not leading well. And that's actually most of the companies that we work with at Echelon Front are companies that are doing well.
Right.
And the reason that they're doing well is because they're humble, and that's why they're coming to us asking for help because they want to improve their leadership, and they're humble enough to ask for leadership. When we work with companies that are not doing well, We show up there. The board tells us to go and talk to the company. The board wants us to help them. We show up there, and of course, the CEO and the leadership team saying, we don't actually need your help. We're doing great. It's just that the market's bad, and the competitor did this, and the union said that, and that's why we're failing. But it has nothing to do with us.
Yeah. Or like my neighbor who steals my mail, he always just blames it on the Mexicans.
Every time.
Which I'm like, well, I don't understand. I know the guy who does your pool. His name is... Let me ask you this before. I actually want to ask you one question on that, and then get to your tours in Iraq, and then bring in our producer. But you said you touched on something there, which I think is important. And I've had a lot of fighters on the show. We've talked about this. You said some CEOs just realize it's their time to step down, and they want to move on to another part of their life. Listen, you're an intense guy. You've obviously accomplished a lot in the military. Now you're accomplishing a lot in the business world. But you get up at 4:45. You do it by choice. I have problems sleeping, so I'm always up at 4. But I also understand that this is not a pace that I've been maintaining for the last couple of years I can do forever. Sometimes the people who are in positions of leadership are the last to know that it's maybe time for them to take on a different role. And it's not because they're incapable, but it's because maybe they're in a different stage of their life. And I ask you this because a lot of fighters are the last to know that they should stop fighting. How do you think people who are successful and disciplined and intense, how do they recognize that it's their time to move on? And how do you think you'll ever have to make that decision, yourself? Because, yeah, you're Jocko Willink now, but at some point, you're going to get old and you went gray young, so it works for you, but it's not going to be there forever.
You mean I'm not going to be gray forever?
You're going to have nothing there forever. That's my point. It's going to be Dick Cheney in about 8 years. It's just an Instagram app.
I think a lot of people that have my type of attitude. I mean, I'm always looking for something new to do. Right. It's not like I want to stay and do the same thing over and over again. So I think for me, I'll be looking around going, okay, this felt pretty good. Let me turn this over to someone else and move on to some other challenge.
So it's about, do you think a big part of it is feeling confident in sort of handing it off to someone who's capable, and that's why it's so important maybe to build up new leaders?
Yeah, we used to say we always want to work ourselves out of a job. So I want the 2 platoon commanders that are working for me, I want them to both be able to step up and take my job and do a better job than me, which means then I can move on to the next level. Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. Let me ask you this. During your 2 tours, I believe you did 2, right, in Iraq? If I'm not mistaken? Yep. Soleimani was obviously recently in the news. What is your opinion on that situation and sort of the Iranian influence on the war with your direct experience? Yeah, so with my direct experience, especially my second deployment when the Iranians were, so this is now 2006, I was in Ramadi, which is in western Iraq. I
stayed at a Ramadi in Albuquerque once.
that is
was not pleasant. Yeah, I moved on down to the hacienda. So
yeah, well, the Ramadi in that I was in was not very nice either.
Probably comparable. Yes.
It was a Sunni area, so there wasn't a huge Shia influence. Other than the military, the Iraqi military was mostly Shia soldiers. So it was Shia soldiers coming into Ramadi with us, working amongst the Sunni populace, fighting against a predominantly Sunni insurgency in that area. So as far as the Iranian influence there, it was less. However, during that time, and increasingly through 2007, 2008, 2009, the Iranian influence increased a lot, especially in and around Baghdad. There's a place called Sadr City. It's an awful place, and all over, Baghdad, surrounding areas, the Iranian influence was making these IEDs, which are called EFPs, which means explosively formed projectile, and where a normal IED would not penetrate the skin of a tank or of an armored personnel carrier, those EFPs would penetrate the armor, and they would kill everyone inside or kill or wound people inside. And the Iranians, Soleimani, they were specifically manufacturing these, shipping them to Iran, teaching people how to emplace them properly, and he was accountable for the deaths of, I don't know what number, I think they say 600 Americans, but it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Americans. Right. This is an evil human being that needed to die, and I'm glad he's dead.
Well, and I know that you've said that, so how would you, and I know you often avoid sort of speaking on politics directly, which I appreciate because you're in a position of leadership where you can influence people of all stripes, but how would you sort of respond, or what's your reaction to a lot in the media and some on certain sides of the political aisle right now portraying Soleimani as kind of a respected Iranian military official, and a lot of people have condemned President Trump for the action he took.
So there's a couple things that I've said. First of all, he was not just an enemy. Soleimani was not just an enemy of American troops in America. He's an enemy of his own people, of the Iranian people. This is a guy they've killed. And again, you don't know what the real numbers are, but in the neighborhood of 1,000, maybe more, maybe less, protesters, people that are standing up against the Iranian regime have been killed in the last 6 months. The Iranian people do not want this regime in power. And so when he gets killed, what did we see? We saw the Iranians rising up in the streets and the protests against the downing of the Turkish airline. Once again, that they immediately lied about, kind of changed their story. But the Iranians don't want this group in power.
Right.
So we killed someone that's an enemy to Americans and an enemy to the Iranian people. And, you know, one of the other things that I said that this was a gamble.
Yeah.
That Trump took a gamble. And okay, maybe that's not the right word choice, and maybe I should have explained it for some people that were looking to pounce on everything that somebody says that's positive about President Trump.
I think it is a good word choice. I will say I would defend it because I think you're right. Listen, and I think most people don't understand that's leadership language. People in positions of leadership, you're always somewhat making a gamble. You're trying to make as educated of a bet as possible because a lot of people don't know this. If you're handed sort of a handbook from an employer or from someone who's leading, like you said, your platoon, you have your instructions. You know what you have to follow. You have very clear guidelines as to what is the metric for success and what would be failure. If you're in a position of leadership, it is always a little bit of a gamble because you're setting those standards yourself. So I would say don't walk it back, but I appreciate your candor.
Yeah, so I guess I'm not walking it back, but maybe a better word to use would be, hey, it's a risky move. There is risk. And what I said was, hey, kind of what you just said, when you conduct a military operation, I don't care what it is, there's going to be risk involved. There's a gamble. And the other example that I used was Obama getting bin Laden. Obama gave the order to go into a sovereign country without telling that military that we were going to go in there and kill someone that was there. That's what we did. That is a massive gamble. And guess what? That gamble paid off. It was successful. We're all overjoyed that Osama bin Laden is dead. And I remember some people on the right when that happened and they said, yeah, Obama killed Osama bin Laden. People said it wasn't Obama, it was the SEALs. I get it. Right. But it was actually Obama that gave the order. And that was a huge gamble for him to take. And it turned out to be very positive. I'm happy that it happened, of course. Right. Soleimani, very similar. This was a big gamble for Trump to take. I would say maybe not as big of a gamble in some ways because he didn't really risk any American lives. But America has been so scared about what the reaction of the Iranian regime would be. For 40 years, we've been nervous about it. And he said, okay, well, we're going to find out. And he did it. And their reaction was to throw some missiles into the middle of the desert and say, yep, we're not doing anything else. We're good. And then you got to see the regime getting turmoil against them back in Iran. So overall, a very positive result. And was it a gamble? Yes. Could the Iranians have done some crazy attack back or a series of attacks? Sure, they could have. They haven't. They didn't.
Well, I think you're also you're talking about a tactical retaliation, but I think we're pretty clear in the fact that as far as the moral conundrum that's been presented, that it wasn't really a gamble as far as, is he not a good guy? But hey, before we go, wouldn't it have been cool, we're talking about gamble because it's always a roll of the dice, if someone right before they shot Osama bin Laden said, oh, we rolled the dice, it came up 6, SEAL Team 6, blam! That's a Die-Hard sequel I'd see. All right, listen, I will say this before we go. The book, of course, is the author of the book is Jocko Willink. It is Leadership Strategy and Tactics, a field manual. I have a producer here for people who are watching on YouTube. We are going to go to a web extended. If you are not a member of Mug Club, Smooth Manny, who hails from Colombia, is obsessed with Jocko Willink. Manny, are you nervous? Dry-mouthed?
I'm a little dry-mouthed.
You're a little bit dry-mouthed? You need some water? And we have Jocko T here. Jocko, Jocko, I'll warn you, it's borderline creepy. I think he has a hair puppet somewhere. All right, we're going to go to Web Extended. That's JockoPodcast.com. Stay tuned.
What's your home defense plan? When it comes to safety, there's no substitute for a quality firearm. And if you're a gun owner, there's no replacement for Firearms Legal Protection. Firearms Legal Protection provides lawful gun owners an uncapped legal defense program, 24/7 emergency hotline, access to a network of over 2,500 experienced attorneys, legal education on firearm laws in your state via our mobile app, and plans to protect you every step of the way if you are involved in a self-defense incident. Visit firearmslegal.com/LWC today. What a complete disaster. Excuse me, did you just blow in from Dressed Like a Spazville? How do you walk around looking like that? Ah yes, there you go. Now you're ready to fight the man in style. Louder with Crowder merch makes these two slobs look better. Get your Louder with Crowder gear at louderwithcrowdershop.com and cover your disgusting body.
Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Leave it. Oh, gross. Okay, good. Go get it. So the reason I was kind of showing that as awkward as, okay, Betty, come here. Come here. A lot of you haven't seen Betty a ton, obviously, since the Hopper said, come on, Betty. Okay, come on. Look. Oh. Oh. She's pulled me off my feet a few times. Come on. Leave it. Leave it. Okay, good. Go get it. The thing I love about this breed of dog, too, I was talking with Jocko about this, and I thought it was relevant to today's sort of, I'll come back here so you guys can see me a little more clearly. All right, Betty, I'll be back in a second. Talking with Jocko, a lot of times sort of comes up, this topic of strength or what it is to be a man. And what I love about these dogs, Betty is coming up on close to 100 pounds, we had it with Hopper as well, is a dog that is very capable, but controls it. You see that with Betty. It's very important that we train Betty properly. The same thing with Hopper, because we all live by Betty's mercy. I told that to Corda Black Garrett. We're really fortunate that she doesn't just rip one of our limbs off or our face like a chimpanzee on Xanax and red wine with a clicker. Might be a dated reference. But there's something to be said for, and I think this is the way you should live, for bridled strength. And that's really important. I think people sort of misconstrue folks like Jocko or like Jordan Peterson or myself when I talk about the importance of masculinity, the importance of being a good man and a strong man. And I think a lot of people misinterpret this idea of meekness. Meekness really, and I think Jordan Peterson has talked about this, means being incredibly capable with a sword, for example, but keeping it sheathed and not using it unless you have to. For example, right there, Betty could absolutely tear my hand off if she so wanted, but she lets it go because I request her to. And that's because there's a relationship of authority and submission, one that's appropriate. Here's the thing. You can't bridle strength that you don't have to begin with. So when I talk about strength, and when I talk about how important that is, and when I talk about bridled strength, what I am saying is, and I've talked about this before, if you want to have self-confidence, do you know what you do? Get really, really good at something. That's it. There's nothing else that can replace true self-esteem. You can ban red pens all you want, so all of your tests are corrected with blue markers and you never get an F. You can equalize all soccer scores all you want your entire life. You're never going to have self-esteem until you get really, really good at something. And you're never going to be strong, and I don't just mean physically, though I think that's important too. You'll never be strong or excellent at everything or anything if you don't work at it day after day and put in the reps and grind it out for measurable progress. And you know what's so sad about that? What's really sad, and this goes back to the idea of bridled strength, which I think is the only way to live, I'm speaking to men mainly because that's what I know, is that people who never get excellent at anything, people who never get strong, they never have the opportunity to bridle it. They'll never know what it feels like to be incredibly capable but also in control and not have to use. Betty just nut tapped the cameraman with the squeaker toy. Bridle it, Betty. Bridle it, you silly little bitch. It's okay, I can say silly little bitch. I know it's kind of gross. I don't necessarily anticipate her to lick my face. But I do want you to do this drill here today. I want you to think of an area where you're excellent. I want you to think of an area where you might be an expert, where you might be more capable than at least most in your life. For some of you, maybe that could be science. For some of you, maybe that could be physical strength. For some of you, it could be a sport. For some of you, it could be political knowledge. What I want you to do is find an area where you are more capable than other people this week and not lord it over anyone. In other words, find an area where you know you could score points. Find an area where you know you would be top dog and instead make somebody else feel like they're the most capable. Make somebody else feel like they're the smartest person in the room. What I want you to do is bridle that strength and know what that feels like. Because that provides a confidence that cannot be mimicked any other way. And the reason I also want you to do this is because some people out there, you may not be able to do this. Because you may not find an area in which you're more excellent than your peers. What does that tell you? That tells you there's some other work that you have to do. Because it is one of life's most rewarding experiences that you can, and those who haven't experienced it, that you could possibly imagine, is having the ability to utilize strength, to be powerful, and choosing to not. And if you aren't making that decision, that just means you're weak. And that's no way to live. I'll see you next week. Betty, okay, that's all right. I'll play with you. Okay.